Welcome to Jackal Digital. In this video, we'll make this smoking super hot fire text template in DaVinci Resolve. Now let's get digital. Now this is not a template just yet, but I did put these comic speedlines Fusion generator below it, just so it's not full black. Now what is available in DaVinci Resolve free version, I have absolutely no idea because it does not say so. So if you miss something, hopefully you don't, but if you do, let me know in the comments down below. Now to make the text effect with the fire, what we'll do is make a new Fusion composition. So open the media pool, right click, new Fusion composition, make it. Once you have created it, I already have it, put this onto a timeline and go into the Fusion page. Now in the Fusion page, what we'll want to do, since this is mainly for text effects, you'll want to use a text plus node. How we'll make the fire or smoke is with particles. So you need a particle emitter, and to see those you also need a particle render node. And we can display this maybe on the right side. By default, the particle emitter emits from a sphere. Since we want to emit from a text, we'll set this to be a bitmap. So this can also be an image. Then we'll simply connect the text to the particle emitter, type something in, and we now have a smoke text made from particles. Now currently the particles just spawn where the text is, they do not move. So if this is something that you wanted and have a bunch more particles, you could just increase the number, go to the style, change the point, since a point is small, change this to a blob, and decrease the size to something more manageable, maybe something like that. But we want the particles to move, so we'll go to the Control tab, go to Velocity, change the velocity. By default, this will go to the right side, as you can see. So simply change the angle to 90. And this will now move up from where we have the letters. So in this case, S-M-O-K-E. So if we only have one letter or a dot, then the particles will only spawn from the dot. Now obviously the particles move too much, so adjust the velocity, maybe something like that. We'll have to play around with the numbers and the lifespan, but this is how you can get the base effect. Now obviously we now just have the text that is transformed and we don't see it because the particles move up. So if you still want to see the text, you have to set the render to 2D, and now we basically can see it. So let's go back to 3D, and we need to add a camera 3D. And now with the camera and render merged, we can select the camera and move it back, and then connect the merge 3D. Actually, not just yet. We have to use the render 3D node, and then the render 3D node can be connected to the media out. So I'll display the media out on the right and the camera or the merge on the left side. So now we don't see much, and that is because we have to position the camera back, and we could adjust the y-axis as well, but maybe let me just have this set to default and just adjust the z-axis. So after the render node, this is now back into the 2D space, so we can connect the text back here, and we'll simply use a merge node and position the text to the top. So in this case the text would have to be a lot bigger, so we can do that. Maybe increase the size and the tracking, and we'll fix the particles after we have the text positioned how you want. And also maybe just go with smoke and fire like I had in the intro. So we have multiple lines, reduce the line spacing, and maybe I'll go with something like this. So we have enough space to work with. So now we have to go back to the camera node and simply adjust the z-axis, as you can see. So now in this case, the particles do line up with the letters, but the particles themselves are very small, so we have to go back to the size and adjust it. And we can also adjust the size over life. So the particles start out small and make themselves big. And we can also fade them out at the end. And we can also change the color, so we can go to the style, color controls, set the base color. If this is fire, maybe something yellowish. And we can then also make color variance or color over life. So maybe 3 levels will be enough. The last one, this one will be probably black and lower the opacity. So this is kind of what the fade does. So if I set the fade back to full, how it was, and maybe also increase the base size. So this is what the alpha does. It fades out some of the particles. At the beginning, this can be probably reddish, and then we'll have a bit more of red color here, but we may need to adjust the positions themselves so we get a nicer transition. And maybe actually I have to switch this to around, would make a lot more sense because the fire is hotter in the center and also brighter. Now currently the fire is just going up, so to fix that what we can do is simply add some spread. So this in the controls, let's see, angle variance. So we can do something like that. And lastly, after the particle emitter, shift space, and we can add some turbulence. But this is way too strong. So just a tiny amount. Maybe on the X and Y axis. The density also affects it, but maybe leaving it to default is okay. Now one last thing that we can do with the text is have it be somewhere in the middle of the fire. So in this case it's in the front. If I select the node and go Ctrl T, it will be behind. So what I can do is leave this node as is, make a new merge node, and then position another copy of the text effect, and maybe simply adjust the blend or change the apply mode, maybe to multiply, but this will depend on the text color. So maybe go with an orangish color. We can also go to the shadings tab, enable the outline, change the outline. It could also be black, and increase the thickness. Let's see what the multiply did instead of using the normal. So normal, this is how that looks like. If we use multiply, it looks like this. And if we use normal but adjust the blend, it looks like this. So using the apply mode does look better. You can also use overlay, soft light, but again this will depend on the actual text that you use. I mean the color of the text and also the particles. And lastly what I've done is used some soft glow, and I have applied it to the fire, but also I believe the front of the text. First let's deal with the fire. So this smooths it out quite nicely, and we can simply now take this, copy it, paste it and connect it to the front overlay. So now this looks totally different than it did before. So if you have changed the apply mode, you may need to change it again or also adjust the blend. And as you can see, using overlay now, we have some green color, which is definitely not what you want. So I do like the screen, and maybe I will simply adjust the blend mode. That's awesome. Now this is how the effect can be done. You also have something similar already under the effects, though again I have no idea if this is available in the free version, but this is how you can do the effect in the free version if this is not available under the templates. So this will be Fusion, and you can simply type in, let's see, so it's not fire, it is smoke, so smokestack. So they have something similar. They used fast noise to make the smoke, and it does look nice. So I'll display it on the left side. So it looks a little bit more realistic than what I've made. And you can totally take this effect and simply make some changes. So if we want to use this, what do we have to change from the initial composition? So just looking at it, I think I can basically move all of these nodes out of the way, and I'll put these nodes down, disconnect this one. Now the text will go. So we're missing something, and what is that? Oh yeah, so basically this is now an image, so to speak. So we have to make a new particle emitter, set this to bitmap. This will then take in the text, just like before, but we then have the region, and this will not be a sphere, this will be a bitmap as well. And in this bitmap, we'll connect this particle render, but we can just take it and connect it, as you can see. And that is because this is expecting now a 2D, and this is a 3D, so we have to change it. And now we can connect it. Just displaying it does nothing because it is supposed to be connected to the render 3D. But before we do, we have to actually connect it to the merge. But it also needs a particle render. So now this should display something. If it does not crash, that is. So now we do have something, at least on the left side. If I now connect this to the merge like so, and now we're still far away from the effect being displayed over the letters. So in the merge 3D we can select the camera, which is positioned strangely. So the first thing that we need to do is go into the transform and just put the rotation back to default and adjust the y-axis or the y rotation to be minus 180. So now we have a head-on view, but the particle is a little bit too right compared to the camera. So let's also set the default position of the X. So now we're in the center, but we're spawning all of the particles in the center as well. So what I'll do is I'll copy the text node, use just one letter so I see what I have, and connect it to the particle emitter. It would seem I have connected this backwards, as now I'm spawning SS instead of the smoke. So with the node selected, I'll press Ctrl T to switch between the inputs, and now I should have a bunch of smoke spawning from the S, but as you can see it's very tiny. But now I can basically put this text back in. So now I do have the smoke spawned from the text, but since I don't see it, I will go say to the fast noise, adjust the color of it, but it's really not visible. So in the P emitter, I think I will leave these values as is. Maybe I will adjust the lifespan to be something smaller. In the style, I will change the size, at least for now anyway. But what I think I have to do is simply adjust the Z-axis in the camera view and position the Y-axis, maybe something like this. Now in the particle emitter we also have the color, which we can change, and we can also change the color of relief right here. Now if you just want a streak, what you want to do is go to the region. You can simply reduce the size of it, so you'll have smaller flames. In the turbulence you can adjust the X-axis or the X strength, the Z strength and the Y strength. Also play around with the velocity in the P emitter. I think this looks okay. So now the final magic will happen with the soft glow node. So I will simply copy this node, paste it and put it here. Looks a lot better already. Needs some adjustment. And we can also add a blur node, so shift space, add a blur node, and this will smooth out the text a little bit, or the flame effect a little bit. The only thing that you have to do is go to the camera and make some final adjustments so that you line up the effect with the text as best as you can and position it where you actually want it. And when it comes to text, we can also add a shadow to it. You can use a black one, you can use an orange one, maybe lower the alpha a bit, and also adjust the offset if you want the shadow to be closer. So at the start the text can look like this, and when the flame comes in, it can look like this. You can also disable all of this and the final effect could look like so. But if you want the text to be visible, just using the particles, you would have to play around a little bit to make them more visible. I just opted for the text to be displayed in the back and in the front. And that's how you can make this smoke and fire effect in DaVinci Resolve. You can now also extend this effect, and if you want to turn this effect into a template, let's just go back into the Fusion page. Now I don't need all of these nodes, so I'll simply disconnect them. Select all of the nodes except the media out. Right click on one of them, macro, make one. I want this to be a generator basically, or an effect, so I will not select anything. I don't want to change anything, I just want to test this out. I will save it as a group, go to Fusion, Templates, Edit, and this should be an effect because I want to put this on maybe transparent images as well. So let's go to Effects, Fire Text, save this, go back into the Edit page. Let's see if we have the effect. We do. Now the only thing that I need is a text node, but it has to be text plus because this is a Fusion title. If you want to apply it to a normal one, this will not work, so I can test that. As you can see, I cannot apply it, but I can apply to this one. Will it work? Not really, as we can see, nothing happens. So let's go to the Fusion page and see how this has connected. Well, the template has connected, and that's about it. We can't actually open it, which is interesting since I have saved this as a group. So let's quickly go back, select the text node again, select everything including text node, right click, make a macro, save as a group, and I'll simply override the previous template, save, yes, and let's go back, remove the effect. So let's see if it works this time. No, not this. Put the template on. Oh yeah, I did need to make one change, I guess, and that is to change the text. So with all of the nodes selected, macro and make one, and I would have to select the text node, enable, this would be style text, and if I wanted to change the font, also the font and the style, so we can change if it's bold or not. If you also wanted to change the color, you will also have to do that with every other node if you wanted to have a color change. So I think this is now basically it. Let me save this again. Delete the effect. Add it again. It overwrites it, but now I can change what it says. And we have some issues. I believe anyway, we do. So let's see what else we would have to change. Is it just the camera view that needs to change? Let's see and find out. So it has something to do with the view, as you can see. It's getting cut off these points. And also this eye does not have, at least I don't think it has. Oh, it's actually the other way around, as I see. Because it's like this is, I think what we would need is to add a transfer node. This would be the easiest way, I believe. Flip this horizontally. We still have the issue of this being the limiting size, as you can see. So if I adjust the z-axis, it's getting cut off here. So let's take a look at all of the images. And what do I mean by images? Fast noise has one image. We don't need to change anything here. This is just for the cloud, so that's good. But do check the particle render nodes. This one is incorrect. Set this to auto resolution. So it scales to the size of your composition. So that one is fixed. What about this one? This one's okay. Can I now change the camera? Still no. So this render node, the final one, also needs to scale. And now I will be able to adjust the camera to what I need. And that is how you can use and fix the template using the included template if you fix it and change it to be flame instead of just a single smoke. We can also ungroup this. So right click, ungroup. You then select everything except the media out. Right click on node and make a macro with the text options and anything else that you would like to be able to change. And now if I put this on a new title with something else as the text, as you can see, this now works as expected. We would also need to include the line spacing and also the tracking between the letters, but otherwise you can change this font to anything you like. And in this case, we can only change the base color of the font in the front. So if you want to change the color of the flame, you would also have to enable all of those options. Now, if you found this video helpful and would like to see more content like this, subscribe to the channel. I'm Simon, and until next time, Jackal, keep it digital.